All right. Welcome back to So You Want to Lead a Party? Do you? I'm Reagan.
I'm Nate.
And this is, let me show it to everybody because I'm kind of a little bit excited about this as I just realized that I have a hole in my trick or treat socks. So I'm a little bit upset about that now.
Whew.
This just literally happened.
You just tore a hole in your socks right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, and those are my favorite socks because they're my Halloween socks.
It's that kind of week.
Okay, so
That's
anyway, welcome to the Baroness Margaret Thatcher and Sir Winston Churchill edition.
I'm excited for this one.
We went British. We went
Sure did.
British on this one.
I say.
Oh no. I was about to say we weren't going to do accents, and then you just did.
I will not be stopped.
Nate, if you want to do an accent, you go right ahead and do an accent. I will just say it's British week. So I feel like, baking something and, just cuddling up and watching a Doctor Who episode.
Having a good cup of tea.
Yes, good cup of tea. All right, so we tossed a coin and then wrestled for it, and Nate's going to go first. So whoever you want to do first.
Okie doke. 1 second, if you please.
Yeah, I have many seconds.
And a boop. Okie doke. So let's talk about the Iron Lady herself.
Yes.
Baroness Margaret Thatcher. First female prime minister of Great Britain, a trailblazer in many ways, and yet also very much holding back, like trying to hold on to some idea of Britishness.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
A lot about the hierarchy, a lot about protection, a lot about the market, a lot about not believing in society. That's the whole thing. I decided to make her because she's so intelligent, and she has since passed.
Yeah, she has passed.
Because she was so intelligent, I decided to make her one of the classes geared around intelligence. I decided to make her a wizard of the School of Abjuration, which is geared around mitigating magical effects and protection. To just going along with that idea of her wanting to protect a very specific vision of England, right? Yeah. Not multicultural,
no,
not progressive, very much in the classical liberal model of economics, like unregulated free markets, I decided to, with all that in mind, I decided to, I rolled her stats. These were the stats that I rolled for her.
Wow.
2 15s, 2 17s, a 10, and a 9. So I decided to, the 2 wizard dump stats, they call them traditionally, are strength and charisma. So I decided to, she is not strong. She is intelligent. She casts spells using her intelligence. I made her a variant human. And because she's such a figure that looms so large, I guess, I made her level 20. I don't think we talked about which levels for these characters.
I think that we agreed that we would just, decide for ourselves what we felt their level should be. So, because I did not make her a level 20 in mind. So, but I think that that's perfectly okay.
I mean, as you can explain to me one time, if at level I think he said at what was it? At level 15, you're already more powerful than you're like in the top 10% of powerful people
Okay.
in the fantasy world, and in level 20, you are in like the top 1%.
Okay.
Most powerful people, and the Iron Lady is all about that top 1%.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Right. So, the features of her class are very interesting to me. She's very much about the spell book. All wizards get spell books. Whenever you learn a new spell, you can copy it into your spell book as a wizard, and then just carry that with you. That's why Peaches in one of our campaigns, Peaches was our transmutation wizard.
I forgot about Peaches.
He's a good dude. I liked him a lot. Little gnome wizard. He helped us.
He went a little crazy there. Crazy there. Yeah.
He went through some stuff. We tried to help him out. Anyway, he was our wizard for a little bit. She, again, is very much about protection. So she, starting at 2nd level, she can weave magic around herself for protection. When you cast an abjuration spell, so something like absorb elements, which allows you to take in energy from an attack directed at you, and channel some of that energy back at your opponents, like Bishop in the X-Men.
I was thinking of Black Panther suit that Shuri made for him.
There you go. Yep.
Like you keep getting hit and then you throw it right back.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't let you throw the whole amount back, but it's like you get an extra D6 to your damage.
Oh, okay.
That's a neat spell. When you cast that's a kind of spell called an abjuration spell, where you're mitigating damage or you're protecting something against damage. Of 1st level or higher, you can simultaneously use a strand of the spell's magic to create a magical ward on yourself. Basically, you give yourself a kind of temporary hit points.
Okay.
But because they're not temporary hit points, you can actually add temporary hit points to them and kind of give yourself a little bit more protection.
Okay.
Just in case you get hit. Whenever you take damage, the ward takes the damage instead. If this damage reduces the ward to 0 hit points, you take any remaining damage.
So is it sort of like when like a druid turns into an animal, once they hit a certain amount of hit points, that animal ceases to exist and they have to go back to being druid?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's basically, that's a way to, yes, in so many words. You get a new batch of hit points and you use that hit point, that batch of hit points in your wild shape combat form for moon druids specifically, which is what Full is, Ethan's character. He's a Circle of the Moon druid. Okay. Yeah, you can. Yeah, once those hit points are done, it just knocks you out of wild shape. And then starting at 6th level, when a creature that you see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to cause your arcane ward to absorb that damage. So if the cleric's getting bashed, then you can be like, "Whoa, healer! I take that. The ward takes that damage for you, so you can project it."
Okay.
When this damage reduces the ward to 0 hit points, the warded creature takes any remaining damage. Beginning at 10th level, when you cast an abjuration spell that requires you to make an ability check as part of your casting that spell, as in counter spell or dispel magic, you can add your proficiency bonus to that ability check. So her proficiency bonus at level 20 is +6. So I'm excited about that. Furthermore, you have resistance against the damage of spells. You have advantage on saving throws against spells. And she's quite intelligent. I gave her the sage background. which I use for our RBG build, but I think it also applies.
Yeah, it
So
does.
she's quite proficient in the intelligence skills here. She was a debate champion. She was she could craft a message, certainly.
Yeah.
There was something about her
She was also like
delivery
president of something, of like some club or some group while she was at Oxford.
I think so. I think you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So I'd probably term her as lawful neutral.
Okay.
Because it's a little too self-interested for my taste, but that is Margaret Thatcher as I see her as a D&D character, and I'm actually kind of excited to possibly play a wizard inspired by her at some point.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that Margaret Thatcher and Ruth Bader Ginsburg have some similarities in that they were women in male-dominated fields, and they did definitely have people who were telling them, "You're a woman, this isn't for you," kind of thing, and having to fight against that. And also, if you really think about it, even though Queen Elizabeth II isn't the first queen of England, she was dealing with, things that were happening, that were changing, and that she had to quickly adapt to. So it is interesting how you start to see some similarities between these powerful women. I did forget to do something. I mean, I didn't just put together a title page. I do have more stuff. So I forgot to introduce the Right Honorable Baroness Margaret Thatcher. Let me move
these people.
our faces. Let me move our faces over here. First female prime minister in the United Kingdom, as you said. She served for 11 years, and at that time, it was the longest term of any prime minister. Studied chemistry, as we talked about, and worked as a chemist. Was nicknamed the Iron Lady, and I believe it was a Russian newspaper that nicknamed her that. And then she kind of took that on. And so I'm going to be completely honest here and just forthright. Don't really understand Thatcherism to a point where I can explain it to other people, nor was it something that I had to experience, but a quick little, tidbit about it. It's the political and economic policies advocated by Margaret Thatcher, particularly those involving the privatization of nationalized industries and trade union legislation. So my understanding is, of just the little bit that I understand, is that she was moving the economy from being basically into the control to the government to like kind of going, I guess, back to the people, because she was trying to keep inflation down and a couple of other things.
Towards private industry, maybe.
Yeah. Again, I don't know. I just thought that I had to put something in there because it is a term that often comes up when you look at her. Again, Google it, because I don't know shit. And then, very quickly, the Right Honorable Sir Winston Churchill. He served as prime minister in 1940 to 1945. So that would have been World War II. And then he came back again from 1951 to 1955, joined the military. He had to actually apply 3 times. And then he served as a news correspondent. Apparently, it was something that he really liked. I guess on his 21st birthday, he had been shot at, and he obviously okay, but I guess it gave him kind of a thrill or something like that. Apparently there's this so-called quote, but everybody misquotes Sir Winston Churchill. So this might be a misquote, but he says something to the effect of, "You haven't lived until you've been shot at." I don't know if that's actually true. Again, his quotes are so interpreted and misused. It's not even funny. But while he was in South Africa during the Second Boer War, he had been captured and he escaped, traveling 300 miles. And that sort of led to his not just claim of fame, but also his sort of bigger than life folk tale kind of situation. He was elected to Parliament in 1900. Which, believe it or not, was 121 years ago. That's insane.
Whoa.
That's insane. And then over the next 30 years, he would hold a number of different offices. So really, Winston Churchill was part of World War I, World War II. He was a part of a lot of conflicts even before that. So this is a character that is basically made for battle. So I'm going to stop the share on that. And I'm going to bring up, well, he really was. The man went through 2 world wars. He was there in Cuba during that conflict. He was there in South Africa during the Boers War. I mean, yeah. And then wasn't he in either India or Afghanistan? Well, maybe both.
I mean, the Brits were kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
In the early 19th.
But there were a lot of conflicts happening that led up to World War I and then led up to World War II. But first, we're going to do Margaret Thatcher. So let me get my act together. It's been a long week and it's only Wednesday.
Tuesday.
But I made her a Goliath.
Whoa, okay.
I made her a Goliath paladin because Margaret Thatcher is this larger than life personality from what I could gather. So the reason why I made her a paladin is sort of like what we were talking about before, where she had an idea, she had a plan, and she was going to make that happen. And paladins, they take an oath and they stick to that oath, and they stay with that oath, do or die kind of situation. And if you break your oath, then that's a whole nother situation. So with her, because she is a paladin, she also does have some spells, but I gave her some of the melee weapons because she is a Goliath. So she's got that strength. In fact, I made her a level 15 because she was 11 years as the prime minister. And then she was the head of her party for like 4 years before that.
Got it.
So that's why I made her level 15. As you can see, her strength and her constitution and her charisma are high, because that's where I feel that her power is coming from, is from her strength and also her charisma. Again, I get that some people did not very much like her, but she was someone that obviously brought the people to her. So she must have had some form of charisma. Her spells are a lot of the typical ones that you would see: protection from good and evil, shield of faith, aid. Then I also gave her fine steed, because if you're in a battle, you got to be able to find, you got to be able to call on some kind of support or help to come in. A lot of it, again, is about protecting her team and coming to their aid. So Revivify, Beacon of Hope, freedom of movement, Guardian of Faith. So freedom of movement, let's check that one out. You touch a willing creature for the duration. The target's movement is unaffected by difficult terrain. And spells and other magical effects can neither reduce the target's speed nor cause the target to be paralyzed or restrained. So that actually comes into really good, really comes into handy when you're working, because there are some times that you do have a member of your team, for example, some of our members of our team, some of them are 6 feet tall, some of them are like 3 feet tall. And we had to go through a cave and try to get around and through, and there's waterways. So this kind of comes in handy for those characters that are a little bit slower, a little bit burdened down. They can still get through, and you're making sure that they get to the other side, which also, again, kind of works with Margaret Thatcher, because the whole reason why she came up with Thatcherism, I thought I was frozen there for a second, was because she wanted Britain, the United Kingdom, to get back to a place where it was number one or very close to being number one in the world economy. So she was very much about Britain first and making sure that Britain was and continued to be a superpower. So freedom of movement seemed to work very well for her. So that there is my mark. Oh, armor class is a 21. So basically you would have to roll really high to be able to get through her. The Iron Lady, of course. Wisdom and charisma is high. And then that's pretty much it. That's, relative, athletics. Because I did learn that I guess she was into some sports teams and things like that.
Yeah, she was a field hockey player.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I tried to include parts of her outside of just her politics and things like that.
That's useful too, because you can like, I just imagine a Goliath in full plate mail, like grabbing somebody by the scruff of the neck with an athletics check and hoisting them off the ground and being like, now you tell me exactly where they are or whatever, right?
Oh yeah, she is in full heavy plate armor and has a shield.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so basically, even if her spells don't get you, just her full strength and size. Yeah, so I created the D&D version of an iron, I'm not going to say this, an iron Goliath. I almost said iron giant.
Iron
did.
Superman. I'm gonna just break my heart open on YouTube.
Oh my gosh, okay. There are things that I remember from my childhood that were just like, that's the saddest thing I've ever seen. And Iron Giant is like in the top 5. Another one, and this is like crazy, it was a cartoon, and it was about how the end of the world came about for humans. It was the craziest thing, and it showed on Christmas Day. And I still remember it to this day, but it was.
Was it like an old couple? It was an animated.
It was like mice were telling the story about why there were no more humans.
Yes, I do remember this. Okay.
Yes.
And that was the end of the last man.
Right. And basically, the humans, it was the last 2 humans on Earth, and they each shot each other. I remember that vividly.
I remember that one too. That must have been a mid to late 1930s. So like before World War II broke out.
Right.
And it was
people wonder why people our age are like, why are you so scarred? Why are you having difficulty? Because you showed us some stuff.
I still have nightmares about that friggin' fireman clown from the Brave Little Toaster.
I don't know that one. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. No, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
I'll save you from that. Anyway.
Thank you. Let's continue on with D&D. Oh, which, by the way, did you hear that they're going to do another D&D movie?
Really?
Yeah.
I did not hear that.
The guys who wrote Game Night are going to make a D&D movie, and it's going to be, I think it's either Chris Pratt or Chris Pine.
Okay.
And then Michelle Rodriguez and a few other people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Show me what you got, I guess.
I know. When that comes out, maybe we'll go see it and we'll just be like, okay, so
maybe in person, maybe like, oh,
we'll figure something out.
Yeah. Wow.
We'll figure something out.
We live in hope. All right. So I guess I'll talk about Winston Churchill.
Yes.
Here is my dude.
Okay.
I again gave him level 20 because like he was very much around for a long time.
I think he was in Parliament for like 64 years. Yeah. So yeah, he's definitely level 20.
I had not gonna lie, I had a tough time with him. I decided to I kept going back and forth between is he a strong fighter that like grapples the target and shoves them to the ground and stabs them? Is he an order cleric? Okay. Is he a crown paladin? But then I saw that he was actually a fencing champion in high school. And I'm like, okay, there's a rogue subclass called the swashbuckler. Okay. So imagine a musketeer-like character.
Yeah. Earl Flynn.
Like Errol Flynn, yeah. He's a little bit more dexterous than Churchill probably really was. I guess this is more like, I've always wanted to play a swashbuckler character. Okay. So I'm like, hold up here, we got a fencing champion. Let's go to town on this guy. So yeah. He's basically he's a swordsman. He is able to attack with 2 weapons, using like one time and then with his bonus action. Okay. Because he's a rogue, he also gets sneak attack if he has advantage. Now, some of the weird stuff with swashbuckler is, so here's this first thing down here. When you choose this archetype at 3rd level, you learn how to land a strike and then slip away without reprisal. During your turn, if you make a melee attack against a creature, that creature can't make opportunity attacks against you for the rest of your turn. So basically, in the mechanics of the game, you know how Rivera, our rogue character, our halfling rogue warlock, in Ethan's game, is able to get up close, stab somebody, and then disengage as a bonus action. With swashbuckler, you actually basically kind of get a free action here. So you can attack with 2 weapons. Normally, you can only attack with 1 weapon, but you can attack with 2 weapons if you use your other attack as your bonus action. Meaning, you've basically got 2 chances to sneak attack. And for those unschooled in rogue nonsense, the rogue class allows you to, if you have advantage, like if it's a game mechanics thing, you are able to do extra damage by with an explosive sneak attack. So if the fighter is fighting a monster, and then the rogue sweeps in and attacks to the side, kind of like a raptor, you know, that rogue would have advantage because his target is already engaged with the fighter. Yeah. Right. Now with Churchill, you basically get even more. You get that turned up to 11. Starting at 3rd level, your confidence propels you into battle. You can give yourself a bonus to your initiative rolls equal to your charisma modifier. You also gain an additional way to use your sneak attack. You don't need advantage on the attack roll to use your sneak attack against a creature if A, you are within 5 feet of it, B, no other creatures are within 5 feet of you,
Okay.
and C, you don't have disadvantage on the attack roll.
Okay.
So meaning, basically, if nobody else is around, and you are within 5 feet of that target, like if you rush around to the side and stab and you're the only one there, you can land a sneak attack.
Okay.
And do a whole bunch of extra damage. There's a bunch of, basically there's a lot of dueling mechanics involved in this build and in this class, which this specific subclass has fascinated me for a while. So I've been wanting to maybe build a little something around it. Another thing that I thought would be useful for him as a leader, at 9th level, the swashbuckler gets to basically charm somebody for free. It's not a spell. It's not a persuasion check. It's basically, as an action, you can make a charisma. I mean, I guess it is a persuasion check, contested by the creature's wisdom check. The creature must be able to hear you. The two of you must share a language. If you succeed on the attack and the creature is hostile to you, it has disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you, and can't make opportunity attacks against targets other than you. This is where the broader World War II thing comes in, because think about Great Britain.
Yeah.
1940.
Oh God.
The Soviet Union has not yet formally entered the war.
Right.
France has been conquered.
Yeah.
Dunkirk has happened.
Ugh.
They're pulling back. And they're basically holding the line.
Yeah.
Right? And their ships are getting sunk in the Atlantic by the U-boats. The Brits are about to, the Germans are about to start basically carpet bombing London.
Yeah.
So they are the sole remaining combatant. Right. And all of Germany's eyes is fixed upon them. So with this mechanic, Churchill can actually fix the enemy's attention on him.
Okay.
And make it so that if you can he can also either charm them, or what was it? Yeah, you can charm it and turn it into, you can defuse the encounter if you use it during battle. This isn't really a good thing to use during combat, now that I think of it, but it's a good thing to use in out-of-combat situations. I consequently bumped his constitution and his dexterity and his charisma. So along with that, the alert feat, which he, as a variant human, he actually gets a free feat at level 1, meaning if it's, again, that's inspiring leader, which I used for Bernie, I think, or maybe it was Barack. I think it might have been Barack, where if you listen to a 10-minute speech, you can give somebody some extra hit points.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a nifty little mechanic. Churchill was a talker too, right? Like, we shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, and so on. With the alert feat, he also gets some extra buff to his initiative. So, in theory, rolling a die, that would be a 29, because I rolled a 19.
Oh wow.
For initiative. So he's probably going first.
Yeah.
Right? These are his ideals, I think, because he was very much an imperialist too, and probably a little bit of a supremacist, right? My favorite.
I read some of his quotes.
Yeah.
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 So very much a product of the system in which he was raised.
Well,
right?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, because he was born into an aristocratic family.
He was a noble.
Yeah, he really, yeah.
I gave him that noble background. My favorite once lost is lost forever. Respect the hierarchy,
Yeah,
right? Above and below. Unwavering loyalty to the sovereign. So God save the queen.
yeah,
And then flaw. I secretly believe that everyone is beneath me.
yeah, yeah,
All of that seemed to ring kind of true for this
yeah.
character. So that is also a really enticing roguey build because
Yeah.
skills wise, he's got expertise and a bunch of
Oh,
skills.
wow.
Plus 14, plus 13, plus
Oh,
11,
yeah.
plus 14, plus 15, plus 11. La, 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 la. Rogues are the masters of skills.
Yeah.
You can get expertise in a skill, meaning that your proficiency bonus is doubled for checks with that skill. So persuasion plus 15. So if I wanted to, what is 8 plus 15? It's 23 on that check. Anyway, I'm talking a lot because I get excited about my swashbuckler. That is Winston Churchill as
Right.
a sword slinging rogue.
Yeah. It actually looks really awesome, and it's kind of close to what I did with it. But I started also by because World War II is like one of my favorite time periods in history to read about. And
For sure.
Just a little note for people who don't know Nate and I, we worked at a museum which houses the only U-505 U-boat that was successfully captured by the Americans. And as you're going to this boat, they have all these videos that are voiced by, help me out, Bill Curtis.
Bill Curtis.
Yes, it's all narrated by Bill Curtis. Beautiful, beautiful narration voice, like him and Morgan Freeman, just excellent. But if my life is ever narrated, I want it to be Samuel L. Jackson because I do need a lot of profanity. But they're as you're going to it, they're talking about how Britain was just hit hard. But you also see pictures of the British standing outside with their beers, like, okay, well, let's continue this way. And it's just an amazing thing to watch because even the most recent bombing that happened, 4 or 5 years ago in London, during our 45th presidency. I just remember as they were running, there was this one British citizen who had his beer with them still. And it's just an interesting quirk about the English or the British that it's kind of like, yeah, this tragedy happened, but we need to continue moving forward.
It's to keep calm and carry on.
Yeah, it's just an amazing thing to watch. And I just remember seeing that video all the time and just thinking, wow, I'd be on the ground crying, calling for my mom, which again is okay. If you're on the ground calling for your mom, that's okay. You're allowed to cry and ask for your mom.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, so my Winston Churchill. So before I show him up, this is still Margaret Thatcher. I did something a little bit different with Winston Churchill. With Winston, his species is a species I have not played with before, and that is not really, I think, a part of DnD yet. So it is called The Reborn.
I've heard about this. Tell me more.
So I did a Reborn rogue fighter. Now, Why did I choose the Reborn? Winston Churchill is for sure a huge, huge person, a huge historical figure. Even when he was still alive, he was a huge political figure. But the reason why I chose Reborn is because I could not figure out any other species or race that went with him. Reborn seemed to fit because in his long career in the military and in politics, he faced a lot of things that would have stopped anybody else's career cold. The biggest example is what happened in World War One. Gallipoli, Goliath.
Gallipoli.
Gallipoli. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for mispronouncing that. I sincerely apologize. That would have destroyed anybody else's career. But it is one of those things that everybody disagrees about whether it was a success or complete and total failure, because so many things were against everybody in this. The enemy was at higher ground. They had improper maps and all this misinformation. So yes, it was unsuccessful, but were there successes? Were there positives? And just in this documentary that I watched on World War One and World War II, it caused Churchill to focus even more to come back even stronger. And so that's why I gave him the Reborn. It should have killed him several times over what happened there, getting shot at, being taken prisoner, all this stuff should have killed him. It did not. He came back and continued on. Now, rogue, as you were talking about, rogues are about sneak attacks, and Winston Churchill was in a lot of different battles, and you've got to be thinking and sneaking to get past the enemy. But he's also a fighter, because as the enemy was coming at them, he's just like, no, we're going to keep going at this. I mean, the Nazis were like at their doorstep. They were right there at their doorstep. It is amazing that England did not fall. It truly is amazing that England did not fall, because they were, like you said, getting hit hard. So, having said all that, with those two classes together, he's at a level 20. So his armor class is at a 17. Because he's a rogue, he cannot wear the full plate armor. So his protection comes in other things. His dexterity is at a high level, because as a young person, he was about the sports and the athletics more so than he was about his education. Constitution is high, and charisma, again, high. So with that one, his passive perception is at a 23. His initiative is at a +8. So like you said, he's probably going in first. he's going in first. And then some other things. His sleight of hand, his stealth is like a +17 right there. Perception +13. Deception +9.
Rogues, man.
Yes, just a straight up rogue situation with him. He basically, and it's like my Nixon character that I made last week, where that Nixon character was a straight up rogue. If I had made Churchill a straight up rogue, it would have been as high as that Nixon character. But Churchill was not a straight up rogue. He had that fighter, persuasive thing in him.
With that martial thing going.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a little bit more about the species of the Reborn, because there's some interesting things about this one that I kind of like. With this one, they carry the marks from their past with them. The other thing is too, they don't necessarily remember everything from their past. So they're, where is it? Can I bring it up? So there it is. So at certain times, they have to roll to be able to regain some of that knowledge from their past. But each of those past lives can come together to sort of like a Sense 8 type situation, where you take on the knowledge of your, I didn't watch Sense 8, so I'm basing this on commercials, but you can kind of, take on that knowledge from your other person. Here they can take on their knowledge from their other life. So you get sporadic glimpses of the past, faded memories from ages ago or previous life. And then as you go further and deeper into this, though that knowledge becomes more vivid, you have roles that you can do so it becomes more vivid for you.
That is neat.
Yeah. I thought that this one was a good one for him because again, yeah, he's a Goliath for sure, but Goliath doesn't go with rogue. I thought for a second about making him a gnome because he was about experiencing the fun side of life and things like that. He really got into Cuban cigars. He really enjoyed being out and traveling and all this other stuff. So that kind of
the brandy.
Huh?
He loved the brandy.
Right. So that seemed gnome-ish because they're all about celebrating life, but it also didn't seem to fit him because gnomes are, little guys, and he's not a little guy, in any way, shape, or the form of how you ever want to take that. He is a larger than life type personality. His hit points, again, you're looking at a tank kind of situation here.
That can move too, like dexterity and anyway.
Yeah, you're looking at a tank that can move very quickly. The description that I made for him, about to sneeze, sorry. Oh, sorry about that. The description was pretty much the same as yours. Noble background.
Noble, yep.
Yep. If you do me an injury, I will crush you, ruin your name, and salt your fields.
I almost considered that one. Yeah.
No one could doubt by looking at my regal bearing that I'm a cut above the unwashed masses. Independence. I must prove that I can handle myself. He kind of, his father wanted him to go into the military, and he did. And his father died not too long after he started his military career. And he kind of was separating him, gaining that independence, but he still needed the family money because he was kind of spending it kind of fast and loose. So yes, the independence, but still, yeah. What is it? It is my duty to protect and care for the people. So, Prime Minister, not once, but twice in the parliament for 64 years, that's an entire lifetime. Common folk must see me as a hero. I really do think that starting with his escape from that prisoner of war camp in South Africa, that you got to think he probably enjoyed that kind of folk hero thing that he gained. I too often hear veiled insults or threats in every word addressed to me. I am quick to anger. My understanding is that he did have a bit of a temper. And by my words and actions, I often bring shame to my family. I don't think he brought a lot of shame to his family, but there were some things that he did do that were not considered aristocratic, as it were. I don't think he brought shame to the family. I just think that it kind of flew in the face of what you're supposed to do at that time.
That is so interesting that you said that. I was reading granted on Wikipedia. I have not cracked. I have not. I should cite a better source about how people think that because he basically had to leave the government after messing up at Gallipoli after like a string of failures.
Right.
And it was some scholars think, quote unquote, some scholars think that it was actually his family influence and his family name and his wealth that like kind of shielded him from complete disgrace.
Right. Because honestly, if he had been from a different type of family, I really do believe that would have just been it for him. But from what I can remember of that battle, because one of the people on this documentary was John McCain, and John McCain had said, actually, if you just look at it as it were, that was actually a really good plan. Mm-hmm. It just did not have the support that it needed to be successful. But yeah, you're right. Anybody else, that probably would have destroyed their hopes, their career for anything. Would have just gone into like oblivion. But yeah, it probably was part of the family name. Yeah. So that was fun.
Yeah, I say that was quite charming. Yes.
If anybody watching this is British or English, Nate is a beautiful human being and he's awesome.
I'm not.
He's awesome.
I fully own my terrible English accent. My uncle is from Manchester. Like he knows how terrible my accent is. All right. It's all good.
So that is this week's So You Want to Lead a Party. We're going to try and figure out who we're going to do for next week. I'm actually kind of enjoying making this sort of like worldwide. But right now, this week has already been kind of weird. I didn't really think very much this week.
That's okay. That's okay.
But we will be back next week with 2 more political figures and a little bit more in D&D. So thanks for joining us and have a fantastic week.